India-China troop pullback done. Ladakh frontier tension diffused. Disengaged, but big mountain ahead. India-China firepower still at front. India-China reality check.
Hello and welcome. You're watching India First. I'm Gaurav Sawant. The big story is the disengagement at the line of actual control, both in Depsang and Demchok. It's almost complete. Now the process of verification starts. And then the corps commanders on either side will sit together and come up with new protocols for patrolling, so that the day the Indian patrol goes to our patrolling points, there is no confrontation with the Chinese troops. The day their patrols come up to their claim lines, again, there is no confrontation. The number of soldiers, the kind of weapons that they carry, to ensure there isn't a repeat of a Galwan or a Pangong Tso kind of an incident, there will be new confidence building measures that will have to be put in place, because all the CBMs worked out from 1993 to 1996 to 2005 to 2013, Border Defence Cooperation Agreement, none of them worked in 2020. Shivani Sharma with our top story.
In a significant development, India and China are nearing completion of disengagement process in the eastern Ladakh areas of Depsang and Demchok. Both armies are now verifying the withdrawal, ensuring positions are vacated and infrastructure removed. This step, crucial for de-escalation, is being conducted with mutual trust. Though physical and aerial verification will follow. No discussions have yet taken place on 4 buffer zones, including Galwan. Once trust is further established with resumed patrolling in Depsang and Demchok, Corps Commander level talks are expected to begin for buffer zone patrols. However, a date for these talks is yet to be established. This follows External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar's recent announcement, which signals a return to LAC conditions as they were before the 2020 standoff.
2020 की जो पेट्रोलिंग जो थी पहले, हमारी अपेक्षा है कि उसी पेट्रोलिंग की स्थिति में हम लोग वापस जाएंगे। इसमें थोड़ा इंप्लीमेंट करने में थोड़ा समय तो लगेगा, वो स्वाभाविक है।
Subsequently, the Prime Minister and Chinese President at the BRICS summit held in Russia also endorsed the India-China agreement on patrolling and disengagement along the line of actual control. With Shivani Sharma, Bureau Report, India Today.
So what does this disengagement mean? And will the disengagement lead to de-escalation and ultimately de-induction of the 50,000 plus additional troops on either side that have been there, who've been there post the 2020 India-China standoff? There are many questions at this point of time, and especially top on everyone's mind is, can India trust China? Joining me are 2 domain experts. I want to begin by introducing Ambassador Kanwal Sibal, former Foreign Secretary of India. Also with us is Major General Neeraj Bali. General Bali is a former counter-terror expert. He's served extensively in Jammu and Kashmir and in Ladakh. Sir, welcome on the show. I want to begin by asking you, Ambassador Sibal, your take on the disengagement that is taking place. Will this lead to de-escalation and ultimately de-induction?
Not immediately. You would see that everybody on our side is very cautious. The army chief gave a press conference in which he talked about rebuilding trust, but made it quite clear that this will be rebuilt over time. And he said, we will begin patrolling, and then when you see each other face to face, something to that effect, that breeds a sense of confidence. In other words, they will test the ground and make sure that what has been agreed to in terms of patrolling and everything else will be faithfully and completely implemented on the ground, and there'll be no hiccups or issues that would be left unresolved. Once that happens, over time then, they will think of the next steps. Now, in terms of this de-escalation, it is quite clear, and this actually more or less stated by our side, that the immediate goal is de-escalation, is disengagement.
Yes.
Now, de-escalation means that the forces move away from each other. And here comes then the issue of mutual and equal security. Now, the access on the Chinese side to the front line is very easy. From our side, it's very difficult. For us, then to remove forces and take them back would place us at a big disadvantage. Now, therefore, at the moment, I get the impression that we are not interested in talking about de-escalation, that we are not very keen on it unless and until we are satisfied on a couple of things. One, of course, this whole business of disengagement, also the new protocol.
Yes.
That have to be agreed to and then worked out on the ground. Because in 1996, 1996, 2005, 2013, agreements haven't worked. So confidence has to be built in some new kind of protocols and have to be worked on the ground. But the disengagement is important in itself because this means that where the forces are face to face, they are disengaged, and the possibility of an unintended conflict erupting has been removed. Plus, of course, in the East also,
okay,
there have been some understandings with regard to patrolling and everything else. So it seems to be quite a comprehensive agreement insofar as disengagement is concerned. But let's hold our horses, and then we'll see next year if there is scope for de-escalation.
It's very interesting you should say that and explain the difference in General Bali. De-escalation is step 2, de-induction is step 3, but we are not too keen on de-escalation at this point of time, because if we remove our troops from the front lines, getting our troops back is going to be extremely difficult once again. But in your appreciation, since China was able to build infrastructure over the years and we are only trying to catch up, how much of that catch up have we actually been able to do? Have we caught up with them? Are we still catching up? The Sela tunnel, the road all the way to DBO, the ALGs, where do you stand on that, sir? How much have we built up?
Well, I completely agree with, first of all, Ambassador Sibbal's point about de-escalation. We do have created some sort of infrastructure going towards the LAC, but in no way does it match what the Chinese have. Geographically, they have or terrain-wise, they have their advantage, and we have a much more difficult problem. But more importantly, please remember that there was a protocol in place for LAC all these years.
Yes.
In fact, there's never been any artillery shelling, unlike the line of control. There's not even been guns firing at each other and stuff like that. But Chinese have from time to time done incursions. They have at one point come towards Donald Begoldi and gone back. In 1985, they came to Sundarongchu, Wangdong, and actually occupied a space, rushing us into the troops. I was one of those people who had to go there to Namkachu and serve there. So I think caution should be absolutely the central theme of our strategy and thinking. It's a welcome step, the disengagement. I'm glad some things are looking more stable, but certainly there should be no de-escalation. And I'm going to make one more point. You see, there has been this upsurge of violence in Jammu area and Riyasi and all of that. That is precisely this place where we had diluted our grid and sent the troops to Ladakh. Now, I have no evidence to say what I'm about to say, but let us say there is a strategic collusion to get our troops pushed back into that space. Again, to strengthen the grid, we mustn't fall into that trap. Because while we have an agreement, I don't think we can rule out another act where they just come and sit on a hill and create an issue. So, yes.
So, both of you are on the same page that China cannot be trusted. Why would China do this at this time, Ambassador Sibbal, going by past history? each time there's a summit or there is to be a bilateral, there is some disengagement, whether it's before BRICS shaman at Doklam or subsequently. Of course, that was because of a QPQ that Indian Army had done. Why is China doing this, and why is China doing this now? There are some who argue that China wants to focus on the Taiwan front and is therefore buying temporary peace or resorting to temporary peace at the LAC. Ambassador Civil.
Look, we have said, our foreign minister has said more than once, our army chiefs have also said that we are not very clear why China broke all these agreements and moved these troops. We are still puzzled as to why China did it. What was the great advantage that China was seeking? What was its motivation? So despite several rounds of discussions at the military level and the diplomatic level, we still have not been able to figure out why China did it. Now to try and figure out why China has gone back poses the same problem. We don't know. We can make educated guesses like the one you made. But insofar as Taiwan and everything else is concerned, this has been a problem for a long time. This is nothing new. And the confrontation with the United States has been built up over time. But let's say one was to examine it as objectively as possible without being able to read China's mind and come to some conclusion as to why China did it. There can be more than one. One, of course, is what you said, that things are hotting up in the Western Pacific. In addition to the Taiwan issue, there is the Philippines issue that has come up in a big way. There is Japan that is getting very, very nervous to the point actually of inviting NATO to come into the region and even saying, as the new Prime Minister said, that Quad should be converted into an Asian NATO. Now, the Chinese may fear that if this proceeds in the direction in which things are going, then the challenge to them will increase further. That's number one. Number two, the Chinese economy, everybody says, is in relative trouble in the sense that the growth has slowed down and there are big crises in the housing estate, in the real estate, what have you. So. Even the private sector has been demolished, as you well know. And there are other problems that are happening on the ground, unemployment and everything else. And therefore, Beijing may feel, Xi Jinping may feel that point has reached where they can try and de-escalate the situation. There is a third thing, which has not been talked about, and this is the appreciation that our side has, that it's not been easy for China to maintain this confrontation. If it has not been easy for us, it's not been easy for them either. Their soldiers are well trained, they're well equipped, but their heart is not in the fighting. Yes. Actually, they want to go back and do something else. Xi Jinping has been trying to motivate them, as you know, that you must train yourself and win wars, and that's how he wants the PLA to be. So there is this kind of a personnel problem. There's also been big changes at the top in the Chinese military establishments, where chiefs of rocket forces, this and that, have all been dismissed at very senior level.
Corruption,
so there could be, and then finally, very important, is that China has always been worried that if India gets too close to the United States, then they'll have a very serious problem, because India can then actually confront China with a very serious problem in Asia. And therefore, they have always wanted to, in their statements at least, to say that, look, India has an independent foreign policy, it believes in strategic autonomy, its interests will never be served if it joins with the United States. They know how the United States built up China. And they're very concerned that with these resilient supply chains and investments and everything else, the United States might begin to build up India. And that will be a problem for them. And therefore, they want to send a more peaceful signal at this time to try and discourage forces in India and the political class from going too close to the United States and lobby for better relations and improved relations with China.
Interesting, you should point that out, but I want to pick on that aspect that you raised about Chinese princelings not wanting to serve at 16,000 and 17,000 feet altitude. General Bali, is that also your appreciation? Because the army all along, whether it's in Arunachal Pradesh or North Sikkim or in the middle sector or even in eastern Ladakh, you're in very, very inhospitable conditions. For the Chinese soldiers, they're crossing their entire mainland and then crossing entire Tibet and then coming to LAC. Clearly cannot be very comfortable for them, sir.
They won't be comfortable. Nobody's comfortable at those heights. But I wouldn't underestimate the enemy at any point of time and feel that physical discomfort alone would be a reason for them to, start talking to us and start being nice. To the eminently comprehensive and excellent points that Ambassador Sybil made, let me add one more. This happened so close to the BRICS, and I used to wonder, could it be, Chinese interest to have the BRICS getting successful? After all, what have they done? They've just made a symbolic gesture. Nothing has moved on ground. A few artillery guns have gone back. That's it. Otherwise, nothing has moved really, right? And they have made a gesture saying that, look, we are a responsible power. So, as a member of the BRICS, it should be successful. I was reminded of a time when I had gone across the LAC to attend a border persons meeting with the Chinese.
Okay.
And it is just an anecdote, but it'll tell you their mind. The meeting went fabulously well. They were very hospitable. They were very nice. Everything translated from their side was wonderful. Till the end of the meeting, they whipped out a piece of paper and started giving us warnings about leaving the LAC and sort of going away. It was clearly something which was scripted. They wanted to put it on record that we are not settled with the border issue. Okay. And we all know that is one central truth that hasn't changed. They are not settling the border with us in a hurry. So therefore, I think while all the other things that Ambassador Sybil said, we are only making an educated guess. But this one central truth remains. Okay. There is no move towards settling things with us permanently.
And we've seen that, as Ambassador Sybil pointed out, everything that had been settled, in terms of CBMs from 93 to 96 to 2006 to 2013, it was all thrown out of the window. A change in leadership in the United States, should there be a Trump administration or a Kamala Harris administration? Ambassador Sybil, would that impact the situation along the LAC in any which way?
No, I think they will be far more concerned about what this change in Washington might mean for the confrontation in the Western Pacific. Right. Trump, as you know, is not very keen to keep extending U.S. military involvement overseas. He might be very tough on China on economic issues, but on these issues, he doesn't want the military to get involved because he feels that America has paid far too big a price because of these military involvements abroad at the cost of their economy, etc., etc. So I don't think the LAC question would figure very prominently or even importantly in the minds of Xi Jinping when talking about the change in the U.S. administration, because we also have to analyze what it might mean for us. Yes. Whether it's Trump or whether it's Kamala Harris. So this is nothing, to my mind, not particularly important in their eyes.
And Ambassador, last 30 seconds. Okay, go on, sir. Please complete your point, sir.
What might actually they be more worried about, or what might have pushed them into this at this point in time? As you said, as General Bali said, the summit in Kazan and this and that. But remember, we've had the summit in Johannesburg. We had the summit in
G20 Indonesia, Bali.
Bali, we had, and there was another occasion, the SCO summit, which took place. Yes. And all these could have been occasions when China could have cleared the debris and created a situation where the two sides could talk to each other. It was very embarrassing for both sides. Yes. That after all these, get to know each other at Mahabalipuram and in China, in Wuhan and all that, for hours together, then you are in a situation where actually the two leaders can't shake hands or even talk to each other.
True.
It was a failure of diplomacy on the part of both sides. So, but they totally ignored that. So So
but
why
in your appreciation, they're not keen to settle the boundary issue anytime soon. They would want to keep things, keep India unsettled there. But the more our military and economic power grows, does it serve their purpose to keep borders unsettled? Because in some situations, we are very aggressively deployed along the LAC.
Yes, but the point is, on sovereignty issues, they are extremely rigid, extremely rigid. They have this doctrine that not an inch of territory bequeathed to them by their ancestors can be given away. So they have converted the border issue today, the LAC issue, into a sovereignty issue. That is pretty dangerous because that actually narrows the scope for any negotiation. I think what they feel is that what they have wanted to achieve, they have achieved in terms of establishing a new kind of LAC on the ground. And these gestures that have been made of disengagement, all that doesn't change their fundamental position, their fundamental position. What they've done is that they have released some additional pressure points on India. But the principal position that they have on the border has not changed. They're not asked for the special representatives to talk about it, but they have met God knows how many times, 26
Absolutely.
times, whatever the number is. And I was involved, I was Foreign Secretary when this mechanism was created. And this mechanism has not yielded anything, and it's not going to yield anything either, because all the work that the SRs had to do at their level has been done. Now the thing is at the political level.
Yes.
So therefore, this is all a way to try and slowly reduce tensions and give the appearance
the LAC
of some
into some kind of a border, ultimately.
It also helps us. I mean, it
Absolutely.
also helps us with the Americans and everything else.
We'll keep tracking the story very closely, but that is all I have time for on this part of the broadcast. Ambassador Civil and General Bali, as always, for joining me here on India Today. Many thanks.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
The war on Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror continues. We will track that story. That is all I have for you on this India First special broadcast. Many thanks for watching.